Hello everybody again. So we're going to go on to the next part of our assembling the Lola bag. A reminder that I am using the older pattern. There's a new version out. I did look at it quickly and there's some pretty big changes to it actually. So I've had success with the old version. I'll probably stick with it until I have a chance to try the new one. So what we're going to do so far is, for the pattern, I have went ahead and I have sewn the base to the other side of the back of my bag. I know maybe it doesn't, maybe it's a small thing, but I like to use matching bobbin and top thread. So I have pink on the bottom and I have black on the top, or vice versa. Those little small things sometimes make a difference in our bags. Now that I'm sewing up the sides, I have switched to all pink on top, pink on the bottom, and it just, again, it looks nice. If you try to use a dark color just because it's, we get lazy, those stitches could show, and we don't want that on the seams. So we're going to, I've already sewn one seam on one side up, and I'll show you how I did that before I do the other side. A reminder, though the pattern calls for it, don't stitch the bottom lining base to the other piece as yet, because we use a big birthing hole, if you will, and later on we will pull that through the zipper pocket and the base as well, and do the boxing and such through the pocket. That way you have a very nice large birthing hole and a very clean inside. You don't have a large turn hole gap. So that's nice. Make sure that you have unzipped your Lola all the way this way, and that the pocket also is unzipped on this little guy here. So here's where we are. I have sewn, sorry for jumping around, I have sewn one side together. I like to start with about a 1/2 inch seam allowance on the, kind of using the foam as a guide, and I go all the way up and I taper a little bit in, actually quite a bit of ways in, as I get towards the top of the zipper, the first one. Then I taper out and continue down the lining side. I take a little bit larger seam allowance on the lining as I progress down, just so it fits nicely in the bag. That's pretty standard stuff that we do now for almost all linings, unless the pattern happens to address that independently. And the majority don't for some reason. So now we're gonna do the other side together. And I have clipped it in place so you're not watching me clip, like watching paint dry. So most important is make sure that when you first, when you clip it together, that you have aligned that zipper area just like any other cosmetic pouch. You've lined everything up very nicely so that when you sew them together, they will line up. Now I have, just as a reminder on the pattern, I have sewn all the way across the end, so there's no matching up with unsewn edges. I think it works for me. It should work for you, and that way you don't have any potential gaps when you're trying to match up that specified 3/4 inch mark. So I have my machine ready to go. We're going to start right here at about the 1/2 inch right here. I got pink thread in the bottom and the top because I'm sewing on pink vinyl, and my stitch length's about 3.5, and we're going to go. I know you probably can't see too much, but you get the idea. So we're doing about a 1/2 inch seam allowance, going all the way up, taking it kind of slow because what's the hurry? And as we get a little bit maybe towards the top of the zipper, I'll take a little bit less of a margin because we don't want to hit the zipper pull. So we're just going to sew all the way until we almost, probably I would say about 1/2 inch from there. And then you want to get to that point where your seam line is there, back up a little bit, go a little bit forward. And now we're going to pivot the whole piece and just gently go down now the other side. If you want to back stitch, you can again. And we are now going to progress down the side of the lining. And like I said, I take more than the 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 at the most. You can do what you want. It's just a little small difference so that the lining just fits super nice when we're all done. So I can kind of zip through this part here. And use my scissors to cut it. I'm taking great care that I don't knock over the video because I don't want to do it again. So bear with me here. All right. I like to sew the seams twice. I do it on the bottom as well. I sew these seams twice. But before I sew it twice, I want to put a peek in here and just see if it looks good. Just to make sure. Make sure everything lined up nice. Well, I wish I could show you, but it looks perfect. I can't show you, but you'll see when we pull up, when we turn it. So it looks perfect, and there's no gaposis. So we're going to stitch again. I stitch right next to the inside of the stitch line, just so it's a little reinforcement. We don't want anything showing. We want our bag to be sturdy and have a lot of longevity. So we're just following that same stitch line on the inside path. When I say inside, I mean to the right, if you will, of the old stitch length that you already made. And zip along. Now we're going to come over here. It's a personal preference. I like to trim the seams. You don't have to, but I do. So I'm going to trim. I'm not going to trim too close to the zipper area. It's already not a full 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to come over on this side and trim this about 1/4 of an inch. It just takes away from the bulk when you're trying to turn the bag. Okay, so I got a little bit ahead of myself. Won't be the first time. On the previous video. So what you want to do before you can turn the bag, you need to first box just the exterior side. You don't want to box the lining or sew the lining base up until we're all done. Top stitching is done. It's almost the last thing you'll do. So what I've done is I have basically just smushed this down so that I'm matching the center seam that I sewed with the center mark that I marked on the inside of the base, well, actually the outside of the base. And we're going to just smush it down. We're going to be sewing from one seam to the other, and it's going to be a rounded shape. We're not sewing straight across. And we're going to do about a 3/8 of an inch. We're just following the guide of the foam and the interfacing that we attached earlier, or I attached earlier too. So we're going to, I do have on the top, I have changed my thread to match the base, which is black, and then I have pink on the bottom. So we're just going to go from side to side and not straight across, but at an angle. All right, it's almost like we're making a crosshair, if you will, on the rubber stitching. So just going across there. And I find that I need to stitch this sometimes 2 times for sure, as my preference, but I'll stitch it 3 times because I don't want any seams poking out for any reason. So, and I have confidence that this is going to look good, so I'm going to go ahead and just do that 3 times. Maybe it's excessive, who knows, but that's what I do. Sometimes I have seen when I turn the bag that the threads show. Not sure why, so this seems to remedy that. So let's get this going again. I can hear my needle kind of going plunk, plunk, plunk. So probably after I finish the other side, it'll be time for a new needle. Needles are cheap. Change them often. I have that challenge when they can be easily resolved. All right, so this is my 3rd time to turn. It's just a reinforcement stitch. And we are going to trim the seam allowance just about a little bit. There's no reason to grade it or, you know, clip it because it's already on a curve, so it's going to look just fine. Okay. So now we're going to sew this side. The exact same way. We're smooshing it down. We're starting 3/8 away, basically following the guide of the interfacing. And back stitch. I wish you could see that. And I am sewing so that my black vinyl is on top and the pink vinyl is on the bottom. It's easier to see the seam allowance or the guide. Plus, I have black vinyl on the top and pink on the bottom. So I'm just sewing straight to the other seam. I'm gonna sew it again 2 times more. Like I said, maybe twice is enough for you, maybe even 1 time, but this is what I do. Otherwise, what it means is, if you don't like how your seam looks, well, then you have to birth it. Or, again, I try to avoid that, even though this is a much less intensive birthing process when we do it the Angela way. Okay, and one last stitch right next to the other stitch, and then we'll trim it. And then we can turn it and move on to another video, which is doing the top stitching. We do the top stitching on the bag before we close up all the seams. I will do that on my Juki 1541 because I can, and I just think it has a nicer stitch on that machine for top stitching with the guide and everything too. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this a little trim. Give it a haircut. And you know, nobody's ever going to see probably the inside of your bag, but we make it as nice as it can because we care. All right, so now she's been boxed. This is the old pattern. I'm not sure with the new one how it looks different. Now I can proceed with the turning that we started in the other video. So this is live TV, live video. That's what you get. So we're going to pull this over like we did before. Gently, gently. Now we're going to pull our bag through the whole huge zipper opening that we have on top. Gently. I mean, we're dealing with a bunch of plastic, so it's not exactly malleable like something soft and sweet like leather, but we'll do it. And it's going to be so cute. You just don't want to put too much stress on your zipper areas. Sometimes you gotta be a little assertive, but still gentle. And we can just reach in there and poke this down. Hopefully you can see this young lady coming to life because she's gonna be so cute. The pattern doesn't call for bag feet either, but I like bag feet on any bag that's going to be touching the ground, except for like a slouchy tote. So there we have her. Look at that nice bottom bottom, sorry. And then we just poke this down here. And now you can see, if you can see the sides, you can see it. It looks pretty. It's like it's going to be so nice. Both sides are pretty. It's much easier than trying to match up those little 3/4 inch marks and such. So we can even give her a zip up. Isn't she going to be so pretty? So that's that. The sides look terrific. I don't know if we even matched up. We didn't match up, but I don't really try to, but it looks really, really nice. There's the sides. Again, our bottom. Lola. So next time we will tackle the top stitching, and then we are on the home stretch. Thanks, everybody.